everyone, Tony Tonkin here from Wise, Witty and Weird. I've had so many problems today with setting this up to have it work appropriately and all the shit that I do. But anyway, I keep trying, and if you keep persevering with me, then that is fabulous. I noticed in the last post I had some people up, and then I had to delete it because I didn't have the sound working appropriately. Again, another problem that I tend to have over and over again. Anyway, this time I wanted to talk about, so the subject is Trump's wall worked. And so what they're saying is that his immigration policies were resoundingly successful. I do need to point out, though, and this is not a good thing about Obama, but Obama's policies were even more successful in terms of sending people back than what Trump's were. But Obama wasn't ruthless. It was just about, I guess, following the law and people would come in, they'd be evaluated and assessed, and those that didn't meet the criteria would go back. And I do know, though, that the immigration system in the United States is just stuffed at every possible level. So, but to claim that Trump's border wall and his immigration policy actually worked is just so far from the truth, it's bizarre. So, of course, Fox News, Sky News, which is equivalent here in Australia to Fox News, have come up with a statement or a statement of lies that they wish to propagate to be able to convince the rest of the world that they're on the same page as is Donald Trump. I do have an issue with the fact that we're giving Trump so much airtime. But this isn't actually about Trump. This is about a media outlet that wants to focus on simply what wants to distort the truth, to present completely irrational views of issues which should be concerning many of us, I guess. And in Australia, we're very concerned about immigration because we have a group of politicians who lack the empathy and understanding to be able to manage the situation here in Australia, where people that need our assistance need to be safe, for their families and their children in particular to be safe, are denied the opportunities that we provide them here in Australia. Same thing happens in the US. The difference there is that they have borders that meet other countries, whereas we're an island. What can I say? So here's Paul Murray talking about Trump's border and how it worked, and I find this entertaining, to say the least.
United States, where yet again Trump was right. Now, as you know, there have been thousands of people who have decided to make their way across the US-Mexico border, in part because they think the new sheriff in town is rather soft, and I don't just mean in the brain. The assumption is that the Biden administration is much more open-hearted, much more welcoming to dreamers and any other code names that they give to people.
Firstly, the insults that flows within the first 24 seconds, actually. We must decide that we're going to insult Biden, soft in the brain, and I think a man that spent 50 years in Congress is far from soft in the brain and has a greater understanding of politics and the nuances thereof than most other people. So, Paul, I think you're speaking crap again, as you often do. I think that one of the key issues here is that that they believe that Trump's rigid attitude towards immigration and the lack of flexibility and their housing separation of children was a good thing. So I guess what Paul's saying here is that policy around the separation of children worked. And if that's what he believes happened, then shame on you. And shame on anyone who espouses that sort of immigration policy as being substantive and of value.
Who cross the border illegally. You see, in Australia, we know the difference between legal immigration, which most people have either a direct family connection to or all of us understand the value of, but we also have a very hard stance when it comes to illegal immigration. You see, put simply, the number of illegal immigrants who enter any one country make it harder to create spaces for legal immigrants. It's not a crazy
can I just say, folks, that if someone is seeking asylum in a country, that is not illegal immigration. There are laws that have been established to hear the cases from those people who are fleeing another country for fear that they might lose their lives. Sarah Ferguson did a fabulous piece in Foreign Correspondent, I think it was, last week, on the immigration system in the US, and she did this piece on a mother coming to the United States to meet up with her children who were separated at the border. It was a fabulous piece because it also talked about what she was escaping. And when we understand the experiences that some of these people have and the reasons why they need to leave their own country, usually for fear of death, then we need to be a bit more compassionate about that and provide them the safe haven that they need. If we're sending them back to a place where they're going to be killed, we are participating in their death. I don't think any of us can accept that as a reason to send someone back to another country if we know that at the end of the day they're likely to be killed. So the separation of kids, though, is just an incredibly inhumane policy that traumatises children and their parents, and it rapes them of any sense of self, I think. And this is an issue which most politicians seem to ignore. They don't care, providing their policy is about highlighting what Murray is saying is that they're illegal. They're not illegal. That is wrong. Everybody knows it, and why in the hell you'd continue to propagate those sorts of erroneous beliefs is beyond me. But Paul Murray does, because Paul Murray is odd.
But it's one that the left thought that was on their side. Remember, when Kamala Harris was just freshly elected as the Vice President, and she was part of that new broom who wanted to offer hope to people in Southern and Central America that there was a new sheriff in town, and they care.
They don't want to leave the place where they grew up, where they speak the language, where they know the culture, the place where they're from.
You're an amazing piece of crap, Paul Murray, seriously, because Kamala Harris did express some concern. So they're going to now draw this comparison between something Kamala Harris said initially. I don't know whether she was in that won the election at this point or whatever, but and I see this as her not shifting. I see this as her just telling you the way that it is in the US in terms of the immigration system right at this moment. But don't you like the way Paul puts his hand up to his chest and pounds it and feigns empathy? He feigns this stuff because he doesn't believe it. There's hardly an empathetic bone in his body.
Place that is home. Most people don't want to leave home. My take on it is that we've got to, understanding that, we have to give people some sense of hope.
Whatever that means. Well, fast forward when...
And I just need to say, again, Paul Murray, you wouldn't have any friggin' idea as to what the word hope means. When you're so hopeless like you are, you don't know what it is for another person to hold on to hope. To hope, for example, that there would be a place that they could go somewhere in the world which provides them with safety and security. People like Paul Murray and the other crew of henchmen at Sky News don't understand the experiences that some of these people have that is literally is likely to destroy their lives if they return back. So Paul and the others, you need to dip into that well of empathy if you can ever find it and understand what happens to most of these people.
Kamala Harris ended up being the person who the current President Biden made totally responsible for trying to deal with the problems at the southern border, where thousands of people are literally, among other things, throwing kids over the fences, over the wall with the beautiful little door, to be able to get into the United States. So, in her first visit out of the United States as the Vice President and inevitable President, because as if Joe's going to make 4 years.
He's done it again. These sly, stupid, friggin' comments as if Biden's going to make it, you know. There's, I don't know. I just get frustrated with this continual rubbish that they spout and these continual digs at people like Biden, who is doing a far more significant and important job than what Trump ever did. You know, Trump and his crew saw it as an opportunity to grift and to make as much money as they can and to boost their egos. The people in the administration at the moment now are just simply trying to do a job. So give them a break. They're not going to be perfect. They're not going to get it right all the time. And certainly we're going to disagree with some of the things that they do. But stop having a dig at them at every single opportunity, you know? It demonstrates, I think, what a pathetic human being Paul Murray and the crew at Sky are. It is horrific. It's embarrassing. And, you know, I think Sky should find a way to get rid of these.
She was in Guatemala today, where the message, well, seemed a little more like John Howard than Bernie Sanders.
I want to be clear to folks in this region who are thinking about making that dangerous trek to the United States-Mexico border. Do not come. Do not come. The United States will continue to enforce our laws and secure our border. There are legal methods by which migration can and should occur. But we, as one of our priorities, will discourage illegal migration. And I believe if you come to our border, you will be turned back.
You mean there's a difference between legal and illegal immigration? Who said?
Oh my God! So this jerk who started talking about illegal immigration without understanding what he was saying at the beginning, suddenly has an epiphany. Oh, there is a difference between the two. So when it was convenient to deny that there is legal immigration, and he's just amazed that Kamala Harris was able to do that, but at the beginning of this conversation, he wasn't able to.
Said that.
Now is the time for Congress to show the world that America is committed to ending illegal immigration and putting the ruthless coyotes, cartels, drug dealers, and human traffickers.
You see, Trump believes that the illegal immigrants are those people who are, as he would say, bad people, you know. They're not. They're not. They're people seeking a way to escape. And they're not in it. So when he talks about illegal immigrants, and now we've got to assume that this is what Murray's talking about as well. He's talking about this same group of people that are involved in drug trafficking and a whole host of other terrible things. And there are people that are doing that. But then they're far from the majority of people trying to seek escape from environments in which they're fearful for their lives. You know, the two things are just totally different. But this is, do you see what I mean? This is the place in which Trump, Paul Murray, Alan Jones, Kelly, and all these other people sit within Sky News. They fail to see that the difference between people wanting to escape because they're fearful for their lives and the lives of their family, and people that go through the system legally. Some of these people don't have a choice. They just don't. They can't get into that system to be legal immigrants. It takes years. These people need to escape now because of what's happening to them. They can't sit back and wait till some sort of gang member steps through their door and machine guns the whole family. They can't wait for that. So they need to find these other methods. And we need to understand that certainly there is this legal process and there are these people who are just desperately seeking asylum. I don't see them as illegal. I see them as people with valid reasons. They're just trying to find a different way of doing it because the legalities of the system don't permit it. It's just that simple.
Out of business.
That was the speech where, of course, that crazy lady, Nancy Pelosi, tore up.
All right, so we've done it again. So we're talking about Nancy Pelosi tearing up the crappy address to the nation that he gave, and for some reason, that makes her a crazy lady. So I'm not going to play any more of Paul Murray's rants because it is crap. But I think we need to think about a lot of what the stuff that's happening in a humane way. We need to understand the experiences of people that are seeking asylum or are looking to move to another country. We need to understand that they can't go through the legal process because it's too cluttered, takes too long, and they and their families may die in the interim. So what do you do? If you're that desperate, what do? You get on a boat, you pay some money, you try and find another way into that country. You're prepared to live within a detention centre in Australia for a year or so maybe to find a way to get out and argue your case before the court. You attempt to do all of those things and then, as in Australia, you find that you're being shipped back anyway, even though your life is at risk. So when are we going to choose to be humane enough to provide the opportunity for people to come here? This notion that if we allow one in, suddenly there'll be a total influx of people. There are many ways to resolve that issue. Number one, if you want to stop these people, stop them at the outset. In Australia, it's in Indonesia and Malaysia. Find ways to stop those sorts of immigration. Maybe it's about putting more systems in place so that the people can find a legal method to get into Australia. Maybe the system is so clogged at the moment because we don't have enough people or we don't have a refined system that allows us to check on all of these people that want to come here. So there's still much to do in this space. So join with me again on Wise, Witty and Weird, and remember to subscribe and to ring the bell so that you'll get any future notifications. Take care of yourself, everybody. Look after yourself. And more importantly, be safe.